back to my ongoing series on patching the Polykrell. So over here, I'm running the gorgeous Eurorack version of Scott Stites clay sequencer, and it's capable of doing so much more than I'm using it for here. What I've done is I've just loaded up one high gate into each side. I'm running it as two 8-stage sequencers, and by just loading up one light into each side, it just functions like a regular sequencer. So it will just advance one high gate through it, and then whatever I set the sequencer sliders to is the single voltage that I get out of each side. And then I'm also using some of its gate outs to control some synchronization duties in other parts of the patch. And then next to it, I've got another sequencer. And buried under a massive cable, we can see one of the original DOEPFER A155 sequencer and sequence gate modules. And it just hit the start of its run, if you can see that light over there. These are great modules if you want to explore the world of analog sequencing old school style, because they're relatively inexpensive. They do all kinds of different things, including 2 channels of sequencing and then 4 channels of trigger and gate, so you can use it to run some drum stuff as well. In this case, I'm using it to clock some of the other sequencers. As we'll see, some of the sequencers are running half as long and they're moving half as fast. So in this case, I'm using both rows. So again, it's 2 times 8 stages. And then I'm using some of its trigger outs, and we'll look at that later in terms of where they're going and what it is that they're doing. Another interesting thing that this particular module will do is it has switch inputs on the bottom row, so you can actually use it like a sequenced switch for CV or for audio. So far, we are not doing that. We're just running it like 2 CV sequences. Now this is a little tricky to see, but back in here I've got the old original version of the TIPTOP Z8000, which is a fascinating module because although on the face of it, when you look at it, it looks like a single 16-stage sequencer with 16 knobs on the front, it's actually capable of producing up to 10 different sequence CV outs by using the same knobs in different length configurations. So in my case, I'm actually using 4 rows of 4 stages, and you can see I've got 4 yellow resets coming in here and a single clock in, which is multed internally to drive all those rows. So what happens is all 4 rows will step forward at the same time. Now this sequencer moves half as fast as the clay sequencer and the DOEPFER A155 sequencer, so its voltage outputs last for twice as long, but they all reset at the same place. So they all start on 1, and then this one will stay on 1 while the others go to 2, and when they go to 3, this one goes to 2, and it'll stay on there for 4, and so on. And I did that purposefully to take advantage of getting 4 outputs from the Z8000, but also because for the performance that I'm creating, I didn't need to have all of the sequences changing. Some of the functions that I'm altering are perfectly fine if they last for 2 steps of the other sequences, and we'll look at those more when we look at what it is I've got all these patched to. And then finally, I've got a couple more. And in here, we've got a single 8-stage sequence running. It's the original Pittsburgh sequencer that gives us a clock in, a reset in, 2 outputs. It has an offset in, and it's just a sort of very basic, simple sequencer with the squishy big fat knobs Pittsburgh is famous for. This can be a tricky module to clock. It can be finicky about what clocks it's getting, but it gives you big knobs with wide ranges, so it's easy to set up very fine voltages on it, and it doesn't take up very much space. So if you remember in our previous videos, I was using the DOEPFER ribbon controller to create a form control voltage that I was sending all over the system, and that form voltage was controlling the rate of the 5 Krells that are driving our 9 polyphonic voice parts. That form voltage now comes out of this sequencer. So this single sequencer, its output goes to most of the places that the form voltage used to go to. Most notably, the voltage coming out of the Pittsburgh drives the scale type, so our scales are going to change as that sequence changes, and it drives the rates of all the Krells. So I still wanted to have some correlation between all of that. I did break out some of the other destinations, such as the filter types for the counterpart voice and the reverb types, the reverb tone, and some more things happening with the logic on the counterpart voice and things happening with the bass voice. Thanks for watching. Please consider joining my Patreon. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next round of videos. Take care.